Okay, so you have found the perfect home. I mean, it checks all of the boxes. It's in a great location. There's enough space. The price looks right. But there's a catch. This home has solar panels. Do you buy it? Do you walk away? And is solar actually worth it in the long run? Today we're going to break down the pros and the cons of buying a home with solar versus moving on to one without. And trust me, by the end of this video, you should have a clearer picture of what makes the most sense for you. I'm Christina Horton with Keller Williams Arizona Living Realty in Lake Havasu City. And we serve Kingman, Bullhead, all the surrounding areas, and help buyers and sellers navigate real world decisions just like this one. Okay, so let's dive in.
So solar has exploded in popularity in just the first half of 2025. The world added 380 gigawatts of new solar capacity. I mean, that's a 64% jump from last year. And while most of the growth is happening in China, here in the United States, we've also seen a big push, though recent policy changes are shaking things up. The federal tax credit for solar was cut earlier this year, which means fewer financial incentives for brand new systems. At the same time, we have seen companies like Sonova file bankruptcy and SunPower go through their own financial struggles. So solar is at this really interesting crossroads. It's growing like crazy globally, but here in the United States, buyers are having to be a bit more careful about how they approach it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so let's set the scene. You are looking at two houses. House A has solar panels, house B doesn't. Which one is the better buy? Well, the answer depends on how the solar was paid for and how long you plan to stay in the home. With House A, you might be walking into a home with super low electric bills. But if those panels are leased, you could also be signing up for a contract that you didn't plan on. With House B, you get the instant savings, but you also don't inherit any potential headaches. So let's unpack this by looking at the three main ways that solar gets paid for: paid off, loan, or a lease. So when the solar is completely paid off, this is the dream scenario for most buyers. Why? Because you get the benefit of free or nearly free electricity without any extra payments. Studies show that homes with paid off solar actually sell for about 4 to 5% more than homes without solar. So not only are you saving money while you live there, you're building extra resale value too. And let's face it, we are not lacking in sunshine here in Arizona, right? Okay, so I've seen this firsthand. I actually had a listing where the solar was fully owned, and the buyers lit up the second they saw those utility bills. They practically were nothing every month. That home sold fast, and it sold for top dollar. So if you're buying a home and the solar is already paid off, that's a big win in your corner.
Now, what if the panels are financed with a loan? I mean, this is where things get a little bit more gray. The good news is that you'll still see savings because you're paying a fixed loan instead of rising utility costs. And after the loan is paid off, the panels are yours. The downside, you may be taking on someone else's monthly payment unless the seller pays off the loan at closing, which I highly recommend. Now, some buyers are fine with this, especially if the payment is lower than their old electricity bill. Others, they don't want the extra debt. So this is where you'll want to look very closely at the numbers. Things like what is left on the loan, how much are the payments, and does it still make sense compared to your electric savings? From my experience, loan solar is usually manageable, but it does depend on the buyer's comfort level with assuming the debt. Okay, now for the tricky one, leased solar. Now, on paper, a lease sounds great. You get solar without paying tens of thousands up front. The company installs and maintains everything, and you just pay a monthly fee. But here's the catch. When you sell your home, the buyer has to qualify to take over that lease. And not everybody wants to. In fact, I have personally seen deals fall through because buyers loved the house, but they did not want the extra contract. And this is the one when I'm talking to a homeowner and they tell me that their solar is leased, but I almost want to run the other direction.
Solar, I mean, it can be great for a buyer. I've had smooth transactions where the buyer was thrilled with the savings, but I have also had deals where solar turned into a nightmare. And this is why if you're considering a home with leased solar, my best advice is start investigating that lease on day one. As soon as you go under contract, find out what is required for you to take it over, what is covered, and how much savings the system has actually produced. Do not wait until you are halfway through the escrow to start getting these answers. Your realtor should be right on top of it. I had a client who recently lost her husband, and he had been the one that had arranged the solar lease. So she didn't know much about it, and she found out that it still had years left on it. I mean, a lot of years. So we listed her home, and right away we got interest. I had a cash buyer even. He was ready to go, write an offer. He was ready to buy the house. But the second that I mentioned the solar lease, the husband said, absolutely not. And they walked. And then later we had another buyer who stepped in, and we actually went under contract. And while we were investigating, the solar company told us that they were not allowing the loan to be assumed anymore. I mean, we were shocked. The title company was absolutely outraged. But before we could fight it, the buyer also backed out. He got scared. It was one of the toughest sales that I've had, and it taught me this. The solar lease companies can change their terms, and if you don't know that early, it can blow up a deal. Now, that doesn't mean all solar is bad. I've also had many very smooth closings with solar. But in almost every case where it worked well, the solar was already paid off, or the seller agreed to pay off the balance at closing. And that gave the buyer confidence, and the deal went through without a hitch.
So no matter how you pay for solar, the big question is, what kind of savings can you expect? I mean, on average, homeowners save 20 to 40% on their power bills after going solar. If your bill is $200, that could mean that you're down to $120, $150. Over the lifetime of the system, we're talking 25 years, that can add up to $20,000 to $60,000 or more in savings.
Now, most systems break even in about 6 to 10 years. After that, you're essentially generating free power. And with utility rates rising almost every year, locking in power costs now can really pay off later. But here's the reality. From what I'm seeing locally, people are split. I mean, some buyers are all in on solar and won't even consider a home without it, and others, they want absolutely nothing to do with it. There's rarely a middle ground, and that's why, again, the key is knowing exactly what kind of solar you're buying into. So what about when it's time to sell? Paid off solar makes your home more attractive, can boost your value by thousands. Buyers love knowing they'll move in and have almost no power bill. Who doesn't love that? With loans, I mean, it's situational. If the loan is assumable and the payment is less than what the buyer would have paid for electricity, that can work. But if the payment is high or there's a big balance left, I mean, some buyers may hesitate. I think leases are the toughest. You'll need buyers who are not only interested in solar, but are also willing to take over a contract. And that narrows down the pool. From what I've seen, a home with leased solar usually sells slower and sometimes for less than the same home without solar. And now don't forget about the panels themselves. Older systems raise questions. How long will they keep producing? And has the roof underneath been compromised from the installation? These are real concerns buyers bring up, and they are valid.
Now, I'd be missing part of the story if I didn't talk about what's happening in the solar world right now. Globally, solar is booming. China is installing more than the rest of the world combined. New technology like perovskite, not sure if I'm saying that correctly, panels is pushing efficiency higher than ever. And even in places like Africa and India, solar is transforming how people get power. But here in the United States, with tax credits rolling back and companies like Sonova struggling, buyers need to really think carefully. This is why choosing the right solar option really matters. Paid off systems are still a great investment. Loans can make sense. Leases, not so much. Be leery. So should you buy the house with solar or the one without? Okay, here's the bottom line. If the solar is paid off, it's a win-win. You save money, you build value, and you avoid the headaches. If it's a loan, weigh the payments against the savings. It may still be worth it. If it's a lease, I would think twice. You might love the house, but the solar contract could complicate things down the line. Okay, at the end of the day, solar can be a fantastic benefit, but only if you understand the details. And that's why having a realtor who knows how to spot the difference is so important. If you are thinking about buying or selling a home with solar here in Lake Havasu or somewhere close to Havasu, I would love to walk you through your options. I have sold many homes with solar and been through all different types of scenarios. So reach out anytime. My info is in the description box below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video.